Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto was the Sorcerer Supreme, master of the mystic arts and time stone Naruto x Scarlet Witch, Marvel. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Scroll of Forgotten Worlds. The last thing Naruto expected to find buried beneath the Hokage Tower was a scroll that smelled like lightning and tasted like another world. "Hey, Shikamaru! Get down here!" Naruto called, his voice echoing through the dusty underground archive. His shadow clone dispelled beside him, sending memories of discovered passageways rushing back to his consciousness. 6 months into being Hokage, and Naruto still couldn't believe how much paperwork and hidden history came with the job. When he'd complained to Kakashi about the endless documents, his former sensei had just smiled and mentioned offhandedly that there were probably some interesting things in the sub-basement archives, if you ever get bored. Naruto hadn't realized interesting meant reality-breaking. Shikamaru's footsteps approached lazily from the stairwell. "This better be worth interrupting my lunch break, Lord Seventh." "Don't call me that when we're alone," Naruto grumbled, holding up a scroll bound in metal that seemed to shimmer with colors he couldn't quite name. "Look at this. It's weird." Shikamaru crouched beside him, brow furrowed. "Weird how?" "It's got chakra, but not like any I've felt before." Naruto ran his fingers over the seal. Unlike normal storage scrolls, this one had markings that seemed to shift under his touch. "And the seal pattern? I don't recognize it at all." "Let me see." Shikamaru carefully took the scroll, examining it with narrowed eyes. "This predates the village founding. Maybe even predates the Sage of Six Paths." Naruto snorted. "Come on, nothing's that old. The symbols are archaic, but there's something familiar." Shikamaru traced a pattern with his finger. "This part here resembles the summoning contract formations, but it's inverted somehow." Something pinged at the edge of Naruto's senses, a disturbance in natural energy that made the hair on his arm stand up. He'd gotten more sensitive to such things since mastering Sage Mode, but this felt different. "You feel that?" he asked. "Feel what?" Naruto took the scroll back, concentrating. The metallic binding hummed against his palm. "Something's happening. Recently. Like the scroll is responding to something." "Responding how?" Shikamaru looked concerned now. "Maybe we should seal this away until, no." Naruto's voice was firm. Since the war, since becoming Hokage, he'd learned to trust his instincts. "This is important. I need to understand it." Shikamaru sighed. "How troublesome." "Just, be careful, alright? We've had enough world-ending events for one lifetime." Naruto grinned. "Where's your sense of adventure?" "I left it in the Fourth Great Ninja War," Shikamaru replied dryly. 3 days later, Naruto sat cross-legged in his private study, the mysterious scroll open before him. After multiple failed attempts to decipher it through conventional means, he decided on a different approach. He closed his eyes, entering Sage Mode. The natural energy flowed through him, heightening his senses. But instead of extending his awareness outward as usual, he focused it inward, into the scroll itself. The world around him faded. Images flashed behind his closed eyelids, unfamiliar landscapes, architectures impossible by the laws of physics, and people wearing strange clothes performing hand movements that weren't shinobi signs but something adjacent. A name echoed in his mind, Kamartaj. His eyes snapped open as a knock came at his door. "Come in," he called, hastily rolling up the scroll. Sakura entered, medical files tucked under her arm. "Working late again?" "You're almost as bad as Tsunade, minus the sake." "Just going through some old records," Naruto said, not quite a lie. Sakura narrowed her eyes. "You've got that look." "What look?" "The one you get right before doing something impulsive and potentially dangerous." Naruto laughed. I'm Hokage now, Sakura. I've matured. Aha. She set the files on his desk. These are the hospital reports you requested. And Hinata stopped by earlier, she said to remind you about dinner with her family tomorrow. Guilt pinched at Naruto. He and Hinata had tried dating briefly after the war, but it hadn't worked out. They remained close friends, though navigating Hyuga clan social obligations was still awkward. Right, tell her I'll be there, he said. Thanks, Sakura. After she left, Naruto returned to the scroll. This time, he channeled a tiny amount of his chakra into it, not to activate it, just to test its response. The scroll's markings glowed blue, then orange, then shifted to a deep crimson that reminded him uncomfortably of the Sharingan. Suddenly, a holographic map materialized above it, not of the 5 great nations, but of something far more vast. Holy shit, Naruto whispered. It was a map of dimensions, worlds layered upon worlds. And at its center was a pulsing point labeled in ancient script that, somehow, he could now read, Nexus of all realities. The energy disturbances started the next morning. Naruto was in a meeting with village elders when an ANBU operative appeared in a swirl of leaves. Lord Hokage, there's an incident at the eastern border. What kind of incident? Naruto asked, already standing. Unknown energy signatures, sir. 3 civilians have reported seeing portals. The elders erupted in confused questions, but Naruto was already moving. Continue without me. Shikamaru, you're in charge. Outside, he created a shadow clone to handle any administrative needs and flashed away with his improved flying Raijin technique, a birthday gift he decoded from his father's notes. The eastern border was largely forested, transitioning into the mountains that separated Fire Country from its neighbors. Naruto arrived at the ANBU's coordinates to find a team of sensors creating a perimeter around a clearing. Report, he said to the captain. Began approximately 43 minutes ago, Lord 7th. Spatial distortions accompanied by energy signatures unlike any chakra we've recorded. The captain gestured to the clearing center. It appears to be thinning. Naruto stepped forward, feeling the air resistance change. Thinning. Like the boundary between here and, somewhere else, is becoming permeable. Activating Sage Mode, Naruto instantly understood what the captain meant. Natural energy flowed strangely here, swirling around a central point where reality itself seemed less solid. And there was something else, a faint resonance matching the energy signature from the scroll. I need this area evacuated for 1 kilometer in all directions, Naruto ordered. But maintain the sensor perimeter. If anything changes, I want to know immediately. You're staying, sir. The concern in the captain's voice was evident. Yes. This is my responsibility. Naruto smiled reassuringly. Don't worry, if anything tries to come through that shouldn't, they'll have to deal with me. Once alone, Naruto retrieved the scroll from his pocket. In proximity to the disturbance, its markings glowed brighter, pulsing in rhythm with the thinning spot in reality. Okay, Naruto muttered to himself, let's see how these connect. He sat cross-legged, balancing the scroll on his knees, and channeled chakra into it while maintaining Sage Mode. This time, the reaction was immediate, the scroll's markings lifted off the paper, swirling around him like Rasengan formations before shooting toward the distortion. The air split open. What appeared wasn't a portal exactly, but a window, a perfect circle showing another place. Naruto saw stone buildings perched on a mountainside, people in robes moving through courtyards, and at the center, a man with a red cloak performing precise gestures that left trails of golden light. Without thinking, Naruto reached forward. His fingers brushed the edge of the window, and suddenly it widened, pulling at him like a vacuum. Shit, he yelped as he was yanked through. The sensation was nothing like teleportation jutsu. It felt like being simultaneously compressed and stretched, his very atoms screaming in protest as they were forced through barriers never meant to be crossed. Then he hit solid ground, tumbling across stone tiles before coming to rest at someone's feet. "Well," said a calm voice with an accent Naruto had never heard before. "This is unexpected." Naruto looked up to see an Asian man with a stern expression and robes similar to those he'd seen through the window. "Hi," Naruto managed, pushing himself to his feet. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki, 7th Hokage of Konoha." "And you are?" "Wong," the man replied, studying Naruto with intense curiosity. "Master of the mystic arts and guardian of this sanctuary." He gestured to their surroundings, an open courtyard surrounded by ancient buildings nestled into a mountainside. "Welcome to Kamartaj." "So that's how you pronounce it," Naruto said, glancing around. Other robed individuals had stopped to stare at him. "The scroll showed me this place." Wong's eyebrows rose. "Scroll." Naruto patted his pockets, then cursed. "It must have fallen when I came through. Or stayed behind." "Interesting," Wong said. "You crossed dimensions without a sling ring or established portal." "Dimensions?" Naruto's head was spinning, but he maintained his composure. Being Hokage had taught him to project calm even when internally freaking out. "So this isn't just another hidden village?" Wong's lips quirked slightly. "No, Hokage Uzumaki. This is not your world at all. Come with me, we have much to discuss." Wong led Naruto through corridors lined with artifacts and into a vast library that reminded him of the Hokage archives, only infinitely more organized and significantly dustier. "Your arrival is peculiar," Wong said as they sat at a table. "We've had no contact with your dimension before, yet you managed to create a direct bridge." Naruto explained about finding the scroll and the energy disturbances. "The timing cannot be coincidence," Wong mused. "The barriers between dimensions have been weakening for months. We've been working to repair them, but it seems your world is experiencing similar effects." "Can I get back?" Naruto asked. "I have responsibilities." "Yes, though I'm curious why you were chosen." "Chosen?" Wong stood and moved to a nearby shelf, selecting an ancient text bound in leather that seemed to shift colors like the scroll had. "The scroll you found was likely a Nexus artifact, an object capable of identifying individuals with the potential to manipulate the fabric of reality beyond their native dimension." He opened the book to reveal illustrations of robed figures creating mandalas of light with their hands. "The mystic arts are the practice of harnessing energy drawn from other dimensions to shape reality according to will." Naruto thought of chakra, of nature transformation, of sealing techniques. "That doesn't sound so different from what shinobi do." "Perhaps not in principle, but in scope and source." Wong studied him. "You possess significant power already." "I sense it." Naruto nodded. "Chakra. And I can access natural energy through Sage Mode." "Show me." Naruto formed a simple hand sign and summoned a shadow clone. Wong didn't look particularly impressed until the clone began forming a Rasengan. "Interesting technique," Wong commented. "Self-contained energy manipulation." "That's basic," Naruto said with a grin. He dispelled the clone and entered Sage Mode, the orange pigmentation appearing around his eyes. "This lets me sense and channel natural energy." Wong's demeanor changed instantly. "That's remarkable. You've developed a method of connecting to dimensional energy without formal mystic training." He leaned forward. "Lord Hokage, I believe you were meant to find that scroll. The multiverse is facing threats that require guardians across all dimensions." Before Naruto could respond, an alarm sounded, not a bell or siren, but a pulsing energy that thrummed through the entire compound. Wong was on his feet immediately. "The New York Sanctum is under attack. Come with me if you wish to see what we face." They rushed out to the courtyard where a large circular portal was already open, showing what appeared to be a building interior. People in robes were rushing through while others maintained defensive positions. "What's happening?" Naruto asked, keeping pace with Wong. "Someone, or something," is attempting to breach our primary sanctuary in New York. If they succeed, they gain access to artifacts capable of catastrophic damage across multiple dimensions, including yours. Naruto didn't hesitate. I'll help. Wong gave him an appraising look. Have you ever fought beings from other dimensions? I fought a goddess who came from another dimension to harvest chakra from our world, Naruto replied flatly. I think I can handle this. For the first time, Wong smiled. Perhaps you were chosen for good reason, Hokage Uzumaki. They stepped through the portal together into chaos. The New York Sanctum was a magnificent building filled with display cases and artifacts that radiated power. Currently, those artifacts were flying across rooms as reality itself seemed to buckle. At the center of the disturbance was a woman with long dark hair streaked with red, her hands surrounded by pulsing scarlet energy. Wanda Maximoff, Wong breathed. She's breached our defenses. Is she the threat? Naruto asked, already gathering chakra. I don't think, Wong began, but was interrupted as the woman, Wanda, turned toward them. Help me, she called, her voice strained. It's coming through. Behind her, the air tore open in a jagged wound, and something emerged, a creature made of shifting darkness with too many limbs and eyes like burning coals. Nightmare, Wong said grimly. A psychic entity that feeds on fear and traverses the dream dimension. If he fully manifests here. Naruto didn't wait for the end of that sentence. He flashed forward with speed that surprised even Wong, forming a Rasengan as he moved. Hey, ugly, he shouted, slamming the spiraling sphere into what he hoped was the creature's center mass. The Rasengan tore through Nightmare's form, dispersing part of it into mist, but the creature reformed almost instantly. A limb like a tentacle whipped toward Naruto, who dodged with practiced ease. Physical attacks alone won't work. Wong called out, his hands moving in circular patterns that created shields of golden energy. It's a being of psychic energy. Wanda stumbled back from the creature, her hands still glowing red. I can't hold it back anymore, she gasped. I let it here. I'm sorry. Naruto created a dozen shadow clones that surrounded Nightmare, each attacking from different angles to keep the entity distracted. Meanwhile, he moved to Wanda's side. Whatever you did to bring it, can you reverse it? He asked. She stared at him, clearly surprised by his appearance. Who are you? Naruto Uzumaki. I'm new here. He grinned despite the situation. Look, I'm guessing you've got power but not control, right? Her eyes widened slightly. How did you, been there? He nodded toward Nightmare, who was shredding through his clones. That thing's connected to you somehow. I can sense it. Wanda nodded weakly. It followed me through the dreamscape. I was trying to find someone who could help me control my powers, and it latched onto my fears. Fears, huh? Naruto's mind raced. If Nightmare fed on fear. I need you to trust me for a second. Without waiting for her response, Naruto placed his hand on her shoulder and channeled a portion of Kurama's chakra, not enough to create a cloak, just enough to share its protective qualities. What are you doing? She gasped as golden energy flowed around her. Lending you some courage, Naruto said. My friend's good at chasing away darkness. The fox chakra had always had the effect of dispelling negative emotions. With Kurama gone, Naruto couldn't produce nearly as much as before, but he'd found he could still access a reserve, like an echo of his old friend remained with him. The effect was immediate. Wanda stood straighter, her eyes clearing as the red energy around her hand stabilized. I feel clearer, she said in wonder. Good. Now help me push that thing back where it came from. Wong had joined the battle, his mandala shields holding Nightmare at bay while Naruto's remaining clones attacked from multiple angles. We need to close the breach. Wong shouted. Wanda, your chaos magic opened it, only you can seal it. I don't know how, she called back. Naruto squeezed her shoulder. Yes you do. It's like chakra control, focus on what you want, not what you fear. She gave him a confused look at the unfamiliar term, but nodded. Together, they moved toward the breach, where Nightmare was partially anchored to its home dimension. Wong's shields faltered as Nightmare lashed out with increasing fury, sensing their intent. A tendril of darkness slammed into the sorcerer, sending him crashing into a display case. Wong! Naruto called, creating more clones to defend the fallen master. I've got this, Wanda said, her voice stronger now. She raised her hands, scarlet energy weaving into complex patterns that reminded Naruto of sealing jutsu. Nightmare roared, a sound that existed more in their minds than in the air, and lunged toward Wanda. Naruto moved without thinking, forming his most powerful single-handed Rasengan and driving it directly into the creature's core while simultaneously entering Six-Path Sage mode. The golden chakra blazed around him, illuminating the entire sanctum. Now, Wanda, he shouted. With a cry of effort, Wanda twisted her hands and the breach began to close, pulling Nightmare back toward it. The creature thrashed and fought, but caught between Naruto's purifying chakra and Wanda's reality manipulation, it couldn't maintain its hold. With a final psychic shriek, Nightmare was sucked back through the closing breach, which sealed with a sound like thunder. The sudden silence was deafening. Naruto's enhanced state faded, leaving him breathing heavily. Beside him, Wanda collapsed to her knees, exhausted. You guys really know how to welcome visitors, Naruto quipped, offering Wanda his hand. Despite everything, she laughed, a short, surprised sound, and accepted his help in standing. Says the guy who shows up glowing golden in the middle of a fight. Wong approached, looking battered but impressed. That was unconventional. That's kind of my specialty, Naruto replied. What exactly are you? Wanda asked, studying him with new interest. I'm a shinobi. From another dimension, apparently. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. I found a scroll, it showed me this place, I accidentally fell through a hole between worlds, and here we are. You fell through dimensions by accident, she repeated flatly. It happens more than you'd think, Wong said dryly. He turned to Naruto. The energy you used, it was different from your earlier demonstrations. Naruto nodded. Six-Path Sage mode. It's complicated. Let's just say I had help from a friend. Wong seemed about to ask more questions when other sorcerers began entering the sanctum, assessing damage and securing artifacts. We should move this discussion elsewhere, he said. The repairs will take time, and we have much to discuss. He looked between Naruto and Wanda. Both of you. They relocated to what Wong called the mirror dimension, a place that looked like the real world but existed outside it, where they could talk privately. To Naruto, it felt like being inside a genjutsu, though he could tell it was something fundamentally different. So let me get this straight, Naruto said, trying to process everything Wong had explained. You guys protect reality from mystical threats. The barriers between dimensions are weakening. Nightmare was trying to exploit that weakness to enter your world fully. And Wanda here has chaos magic that accidentally led it to you while she was searching for help. An accurate summary, Wong agreed. And now you think I was chosen to help because that scroll found its way to me? The scroll of Vishanti does not reveal itself without purpose, Wong said. It identifies potential guardians across dimensions. Naruto glanced at Wanda, who had been quiet during Wong's explanations. And you? What's your story? She met his gaze directly. I was experimented on. Given powers I don't fully understand and can barely control. When I use them, things happen. Reality changes around me. Her hands twisted in her lap. People get hurt. Something in her expression reminded Naruto of himself as a child, someone with power they never asked for, feared by others, struggling for control. I get that more than you know, he said softly. Wong cleared his throat. The Ancient One, our former leader, foresaw a time when threats would arise that required guardians from multiple dimensions. The scroll of Vishanti was meant to identify those with the potential to become Sorcerer Supreme in their own realms. Sorcerer Supreme. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Master of the mystic arts. Protector of reality. Wong gestured to the pendant hanging at his chest, a bronze eye-shaped amulet. Traditionally, the Sorcerer Supreme is also guardian of the Time Stone, one of 6 infinity stones that predate creation itself. Naruto whistled. Sounds like a big job. I'm already Hokage, leader of my village. Perhaps that's why you were chosen, Wong suggested. You already understand the burden of protection. What exactly would this entail? Naruto asked, his mind racing. I can't abandon my village. Training in the mystic arts. Learning to move between dimensions without relying on artifacts. Eventually, establishing a sanctuary in your world to monitor and defend against extradimensional threats. And this would help me too? Wanda asked, speaking up. Learn control. Wong nodded. The disciplines of Kamartage have helped many gain mastery over abilities that once seemed ungovernable. Naruto thought of his village, of the peace they'd fought so hard to achieve. If there were threats beyond their dimension that could endanger that peace, wasn't it his duty to learn how to protect against them? I need to return to my village first, he said. Explain things, make arrangements. I can't just disappear. Understandable, Wong agreed. I can open a portal for your return. And what about me? Wanda asked. Wong turned to her. You are welcome at Kamartage, Ms. Maximoff. Though your chaos magic differs from our traditional arts, the principles of control remain similar. I'll be back, Naruto. Promised. Once I've sorted things out. He turned to Wanda with a grin. Save me a spot in class, yeah. For the first time since they'd met, Wanda smiled, a small but genuine expression that transformed her face. Sure. Maybe you can explain what chakra is when you get back. Wong created a circular portal with precise movements of his hands. Through it, Naruto could see the clearing where he'd disappeared. The ANBU are going to have a field day with this, he muttered. Before you go, Wong said, reaching into his robes. He withdrew a small pendant on a cord, a simplified version of the eye he wore. This will help you return. Focus your chakra into it while thinking of Kamartage. Naruto accepted it, feeling a resonance with his energy. Thanks. For everything. Thank me by returning, Wong said. Your world needs protection as much as any other. With a final nod to them both, Naruto stepped through the portal back into Fire Country. As expected, the ANBU nearly attacked him when he reappeared. Stand down, Naruto ordered. It's me. The captain approached cautiously. Lord Seventh, you've been gone for almost 6 hours. What happened? It's a long story, Naruto said, pocketing Wong's pendant. One I need to tell the council immediately. Back in Konoha, reactions to his tale ranged from disbelief to alarm. Shikamaru, ever practical, focused on the implications. So there are threats beyond our world that could potentially breach our dimension, he summarized. And you've been offered training to defend against them. Basically, Naruto confirmed. I'd need to split my time between here and Kamartage. That's unprecedented, one elder protested. The Hokage cannot abandon the village. I won't be abandoning anything, Naruto countered. With flying Raijin and this pendant, I can move between worlds almost instantly. And my shadow clones can handle administrative duties while I'm training. You're actually considering this, Sakura said. It wasn't a question. Naruto nodded. I have to. If what Wong says is true, these dimensional barriers will continue weakening. We need to be prepared. It's troublesome, Shikamaru sighed, but I agree. Better to have protection and not need it. The debate continued for hours, but eventually, a compromise was reached. Naruto would divide his time, 3 days in Konoha handling Hokage duties, 4 days at Kamartage training in the mystic arts. Shikamaru would oversee village operations during his absence, with Naruto's shadow clones providing continuity. Later that night, alone in his office, Naruto examined the pendant Wong had given him. The simplified eye design seemed to watch him back. "Sorcerer Supreme, huh?" he murmured. Kurama would have laughed his tails off at that. He could almost hear the fox's sardonic reply, "Just don't forget who you are, brat." "Never," Naruto promised the empty room. He channeled a small amount of chakra into the pendant, feeling it respond with a warm pulse. Beyond his window, Konoha slept peacefully under starlight. Somewhere across dimensions, Wanda and Wong were preparing for his return. And somewhere else, perhaps, other threats were gathering. Naruto Uzumaki, 7th Hokage of Konoha, soon to be apprentice in the mystic arts, pocketed the pendant and headed home to pack. A new adventure was beginning. Chapter 2, Crimson Bonds. Focus, Naruto. You're putting too much juice into it. Wong's voice barked across the training courtyard, but Naruto was a little busy trying to keep his hand from exploding. He was wearing a sling ring on his left hand, making circular motions in the air, but instead of the neat, golden sparks of a normal portal, he was getting a roaring whirlpool of orange chakra and crackling eldritch energy. "I'm trying." Naruto yelled back, gritting his teeth. It's like trying to tell a flood to walk through a straw. Beside him, Wanda was floating a few inches off the ground, her fingers weaving through crimson mist. She looked a lot more composed than she had a week ago, but her brow was furrowed in concentration. She flicked her wrist, and a piece of the stone floor rose up, hovered, and then shattered into dust before she knit it back together. "Try to breathe through the energy, Naruto," Wanda said, her voice calm but tight. "Don't fight the flow. Redirect it." Naruto took a breath, trying to dampen the sheer volume of his chakra. He pictured the energy not as a crashing wave, but as a steady stream. The orange tint in the sparks faded, settling into a brilliant, steady gold. With a final, sharp circle, the air ripped open. Through the hoop of fire, he didn't see another part of Kamartage. He saw the top of the Hokage rock. Specifically, he saw the top of his own stone head's ear. Ha! Did it! Naruto punched the air, and the portal immediately sputtered and died. "Ah, man. You lost focus," Wong said, walking over. He looked at the spot where the portal had been. "But you're learning faster than anyone I've seen. Most students take months just to get a spark. You're punching holes in the world after 3 days." "I've got a lot of practice with high-pressure learning," Naruto said, rubbing the back of his neck. He turned to Wanda. "How's the chaos magic treating you today?" Wanda landed softly, the red glow fading from her eyes. "It's quieter. Having a structure to follow helps. These movements, the geometry of it all, it gives the power a place to go instead of just exploding outward. We're a pair of misfits, aren't we?" Naruto grinned. Wanda didn't look away this time. She actually held his gaze. "Maybe. But it's better than being a misfit alone." The moment was interrupted by a sharp, rhythmic tapping. Naruto's hand went to his hip, where the eye of Agamotto now hung. Wong had entrusted it to him for safekeeping and resonance training, after Naruto showed an weirdly high affinity for the stone's temporal energy. The tapping wasn't coming from the eye, though. It was coming from the air itself. Suddenly, the sky over Kamartage didn't just darken, it turned the color of a bruised lung. A massive, jagged crack split the atmosphere, and the temperature plummeted so fast that Naruto's breath turned to mist. "Wong, tell me that's a training exercise," Naruto said, his body automatically shifting into a combat stance. "It isn't," Wong said, his hands already forming shields. "Something is forcing its way in. Something massive." A voice boomed through the courtyard, cold and resonant, a voice Naruto hadn't heard since the battlefield of the Fourth War. "So, this is where the brat has been hiding." A different reality entirely. How very industrious. Naruto's heart did a slow, heavy thud in his chest. No way. We sealed him. We ended it. A figure stepped out of the rift, hovering in the air. He wore the familiar high-collared red armor, his long black hair wild. But his skin wasn't flesh, it looked like cracked porcelain held together by blue light. Beside him stood a man in a sharp, blood-red suit with skin the color of a fresh wound and eyes that glowed like embers. Madara Uchiha, Naruto spat. And I'm guessing you're the guy Wong warned me about. Mephisto. The man in the suit bowed mockingly. A pleasure to finally meet the boy who's been causing such a stir in the astral currents. Madara told me you were stubborn. He didn't mention you were so bright. What do you want, Madara? Naruto demanded, orange sage markings snapping into place around his eyes instantly. You lost. Give it up. Madara looked down at his own glowing hands. I lost a war of attrition, Uzumaki. But my soul was not so easily discarded. This gentleman found me drifting in the void and offered me a second chance. A chance to bring true order to not just one world, but all of them. He wants the stone, Naruto, Wanda said, her hands already wreathed in thick, angry red energy. She stepped up beside him. I can feel his hunger. It's like a hole in the world. The time stone, Mephisto purred. A bauble that belongs in the hands of someone who understands the true nature of the universe. Give it to us, and perhaps I'll let your little village stay standing for another century. Not happening, Naruto said. Wong, get the students to the inner sanctum. Wanda, you're with me. I was hoping you'd say that, Madara said. He didn't use hand signs. He simply blinked, and a colossal ribcage of blue energy, the Susanoo, materialized around him. But this Susanoo was different. It was laced with dark, flickering flames that smelled of sulfur. Mephisto gave him a power-up, Naruto muttered. Great. Just what he needed. Madara swung a massive spectral sword down toward the courtyard. Naruto didn't dodge. He slammed his palms together. Wood style, deep forest bloom. Thick, gnarled trees erupted from the stone tiles, surging upward to meet the Susanoo's blade. The wood groaned under the pressure, but Naruto infused it with sage-enhanced eldritch energy. Golden runes carved themselves into the bark as the trees grew, reinforcing the wood against the demonic fire. Wanda took flight, a streak of scarlet. She didn't just throw energy bolts, she manipulated the space around Madara. The air around the Susanoo began to compress, the light distorting as she tried to crush the energy construct with pure willpower. Impressive, girl. Mephisto laughed, casually dodging a blast from Wong. The demon lord flicked a finger, and the ground beneath Naruto turned into a literal lake of grasping, screaming hands made of shadow. Naruto jumped, spinning in midair. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 100 Narutos appeared, filling the sky. Half of them started forming Razengans, while the other half began chanting in the language Wong had taught them. 7 rings of Ragador, the clones shouted in unison. 100 shimmering, circular shields appeared, forming a golden dome that blocked a rain of black fireballs launched by Mephisto. We need to split them up. Naruto yelled to Wanda over the roar of the battle. I'll handle the Uchiha. You and Wong take the suit. Wanda nodded, her face a mask of grim determination. She dove toward Mephisto, her magic clashing with his hellfire in a spectacular explosion of red and black. Naruto propelled himself toward Madara using a burst of chakra from his feet. He pulled a scroll from his pouch, not a sealing scroll, but a blank one he prepared for mystic inscriptions. As he flew, he traced a symbol in the air with his free hand. Eldritch chain, sealing bind. Golden chains shot from the symbol, wrapping around the Susanoo's arms. Madara sneered, his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan spinning. You think these toys can hold me? Madara roared. He flexed the Susanoo's muscles, and the chains began to crack. I don't need them to hold you, Naruto said, appearing right in front of Madara's face via flying. Raijin. He'd marked one of the chains. I just need you to stay still for a second. Naruto pressed his hand against the Susanu's forehead. Sage Art, Magnet Release Rasengan. The swirling sphere of sand and lightning slammed into the energy shield. Normally, it would just explode, but Naruto added a twist of the Time Stone's power. The impact didn't just happen, it happened 1,000 times in a single second. The Susanoo shattered like glass. Madara fell back, his porcelain-like skin cracking further. He flipped in the air and landed on a roof, looking genuinely surprised. You've changed, Uzumaki. You're no longer just a blunt instrument. I grew up, Naruto said, landing across from him. And I'm not letting you ruin this world too. This world is already ruined, Madara said, his voice dropping to a low hiss. Look at the chaos. Look at the girl you fight with. She is a ticking bomb. Mephisto showed me the futures she creates. She will tear reality apart if someone doesn't take control. Naruto felt a surge of protectiveness that surprised him. She's learning. She's a person, not a weapon. She is both, Madara countered. He held out his hand. The air around them began to ripple. Fire style, majestic destroyer flame. A wall of fire 40 feet high roared toward Naruto. This wasn't normal fire, it was infused with Mephisto's essence, turning it into a living, hungry thing. Naruto didn't use water. He used the mystic arts. He traced a complex square in the air. The hoary hosts of Hoggoth. A blast of freezing, mystical mist erupted from the square, colliding with the fire. The steam that rose was so thick it blinded everything. Naruto used the cover to move, but Madara's Sharingan saw through it effortlessly. A black blade pierced the steam, heading straight for Naruto's heart. Naruto caught the blade between his palms, the friction burning his skin. He looked Madara in the eye. You're a ghost, Madara. Go back to the grave. I am the future, Madara replied. Suddenly, a scream ripped through the courtyard. Naruto's head whipped around. Mephisto had Wanda pinned against a wall with spears of dark energy. Wong was on the ground, struggling to get up. Wanda! Naruto yelled. The distraction was all Madara needed. He kicked Naruto in the chest, sending him flying through 2 stone walls. Naruto coughed, tasting blood. He looked up just as Madara and Mephisto converged on Wanda. Mephisto reached for the eye of Agamotto, which was glowing brightly around Naruto's neck, but then he paused, looking at Wanda. Actually, the stone can wait. This power, this chaos, it's much more delicious. The demon reached out to touch Wanda's forehead. Her eyes were wide with terror, her magic flickering out as Mephisto drained her. Naruto felt a cold, sharp anger he hadn't felt in years. It wasn't the rage of the Nine Tails, it was something sharper, more focused. He stood up, and the eye of Agamotto flew open. Green rings of light surrounded his arm. Get away from her, Naruto said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried across the courtyard like a thunderclap. He didn't run. He moved his hand in a precise, reverse-winding motion. The world around them stuttered. The dust from the shattered walls flew back into place. The spears of energy holding Wanda retracted into Mephisto's hands. Naruto's wounds closed. He had rewound the last 10 seconds for everyone except himself. Mephisto blinked, confused by the sudden shift in position. Time manipulation. You shouldn't be able to, Naruto didn't give him the chance to finish. He was already there. He grabbed Wanda's hand, pulling her away from the demon. Wanda, look at me, Naruto said, ignoring the 2 villains for a split second. I need you to let it go. Don't try to control it. Just give it to me. What? She gasped, her face pale. Your magic. Mix it with mine. We're going to blow them out of this dimension. She looked into his eyes and saw nothing but absolute confidence. She nodded. She grabbed his forearm, and the scarlet mist poured out of her, coiling around Naruto's golden chakra. The two energies shouldn't have worked together. One was order and nature, the other was pure chaos. But Naruto's body acted as the bridge. A massive, swirling sphere of energy formed between them. It was gold, orange, and deep, bloody crimson. It hummed with a sound that made the very stones of Kamartaj vibrate. Rasengan, Chaos Singularity. Naruto and Wanda thrust their hands forward together. The sphere didn't fly, it expanded instantly, a dome of annihilating energy that swallowed everything in its path. Madara tried to summon his Susanoo, but the chaos magic simply rewrote the energy of the shield into flower petals that blew away in the wind. Mephisto screamed as the golden sage light burned his demonic skin. With a sound like a world breaking, the two villains were blasted backward, through the rift they had created. Naruto didn't stop. He used the eye to lock the rift, winding the temporal flow of the tear back until it was a single point of light, then snapped his fingers, extinguishing it. Silence returned to Kamartaj. Naruto slumped over, his hands on his knees, gasping for air. His skin felt like it was on fire. Wanda fell beside him, her breathing just as heavy. "Did we get them?" she asked. "For now," Naruto panted. "But Madara's a persistent bastard. And Mephisto isn't the type to take a hint." Wong limped over, clutching his side. "That was the most reckless, dangerous, and brilliantly effective use of the time stone I have ever witnessed." "I'll take the compliment," Naruto said, offering a hand to Wanda. She took it, and he pulled her up. She didn't let go of his hand immediately. "You used the stone to save me," she said softly. "I use whatever I've got to save my friends," Naruto said simply. Wanda looked at their joined hands, then up at him. "Friends. I haven't had many of those lately." "Well, you've got a loud-mouthed ninja from another world now," Naruto said with a grin. "And he's not going anywhere." Wong looked at the scorched courtyard and then at the sky, which was returning to its normal blue. "They won't stop at Kamartaj. Now that they know you have the stone and you're training with Wanda, they'll hit you where you're vulnerable." Naruto's grin faded. "Konoha." "Exactly," Wong said. "An alliance between an Uchiha who knows your world and a demon who knows the multiverse, that's a nightmare scenario." "Then we don't wait for them to come to us," Naruto said, his eyes hardening. "I need to go back. I need to shore up the village's defenses against mystic attacks." "I'm coming with you," Wanda said. Naruto looked at her, surprised. "It's going to be dangerous, Wanda. My world isn't exactly peaceful." "Neither is mine," she replied. "And you said it yourself, we're a pair of misfits. I think your village could use a witch." Naruto felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with chakra. "All right. But fair warning, the food is way better than the stuff they serve here." "I look forward to it," she said. Naruto turned to Wong. "Keep an eye on the borders. If you see even a spark of red fire, let me know." Wong nodded solemnly. "Be careful, Naruto. You're playing with forces that don't like to be mastered." Naruto adjusted the eye of Agamotto on his chest and held up his sling ring. This time, he didn't even have to think about it. He made a sharp, clean circle, and a portal opened directly into the center of the Hidden Leaf Village. "Ready?" Naruto asked, stepping toward the portal. Wanda took a deep breath, her fingers sparking with red light. "Ready." They stepped through together, leaving the mountains of Nepal behind for the lush forests of the Land of Fire. The village was just as Naruto had left it, bustling and vibrant. But as he looked up at the Hokage rock, he saw a raven perched on the nose of his own monument. The bird's eyes were a familiar, spinning red. The raven let out a single, harsh caw and took flight, heading toward the horizon. "He's already here," Naruto whispered. "Then let's go." To work, Wanda said. They moved into the village, two guardians of two different worlds, ready to face a threat that was only just beginning to show its true face. Naruto knew the political fallout of bringing a witch to the village would be a headache, and the elders would likely have a collective heart attack, but he didn't care. He had a village to protect, a friend to train, and an Uchiha to put back in the ground. As they walked toward the Hokage Tower, the citizens of Konoha stopped and stared at the strange woman in the red cloak and the Hokage who seemed to glow with a new kind of power. Naruto didn't mind the stares. He just looked at Wanda and saw her standing a little taller, her chin held high. She wasn't a ticking bomb. She was an ally. And together, they were going to show Madara and Mephisto that some bonds were stronger than even the fabric of reality. Chapter 3, Realms Colliding. Try it again, but this time, don't explode my apartment. Wanda shot Naruto a look that could wither plants. She was sitting cross-legged in the center of his living room, a circle of strange markings chalked onto the floor around her. Red energy danced between her fingers like living thread. I didn't explode your apartment. I slightly rearranged the molecules in your kitchen. My ramen cups turned into butterflies, Naruto countered, leaning against the wall. Very pretty, but considerably less edible. 3 weeks had passed since they'd returned to Konoha. 3 weeks of planning, training, and the weird political dance of explaining to the village elders why the Hokage had brought home a reality warping witch from another dimension. Shikamaru had taken one look at Wanda, sighed deeply, and muttered, troublesome, under his breath before becoming her most unexpected defender in council meetings. You're distracting me, Wanda said, refocusing. She inhaled deeply, and the red light stabilized. I'm trying to create a dimensional anchor like Wong showed us. If Madara and Mephisto attack, we need a safe point to retreat to. I know. Naruto pushed off the wall and crouched beside her. The eye of Agamotto hung at his chest, dormant but ever present. Just teasing. You're doing great. Her expression softened slightly. You're a terrible teacher. Never claimed to be a good one. He grinned. But I've got experience with wild, unpredictable power that wants to blow stuff up. Wanda's hands moved in a complex pattern, tracing symbols that glowed in the air before sinking into the floor. The chalk markings began to shimmer with a golden red light. There, she said with satisfaction. Now this apartment exists simultaneously in both our dimensions. A safe harbor if things go sideways. Naruto whistled. Nice work. Though I'm not sure how the landlord will feel about interdimensional portals in the building. I own the building, Wanda reminded him. They'd had to work out a whole identity for her in Konoha. Sakura had helped with the paperwork, listing Wanda as a specialist consultant from the Land of Iron with rare Kekii Genkai abilities. A knock at the door interrupted them. Naruto rose to answer it, finding Shikamaru looking even more serious than usual. We've got trouble, he said without preamble. The barrier team detected 6 breaches in the last hour. Something's pushing at the edges of our reality. Mephisto, Wanda said, standing. The chalk marks faded back to normal, but Naruto knew the anchor was still active. Where? Naruto asked, already grabbing his modified Hokage cloak. Wong had helped him inscribe protective runes into the fabric, not that anyone in Konoha could tell the difference. Northern Forest, Eastern Ridge, Southern Gate, and 3 points inside the village itself, Shikamaru listed off. We've dispatched ANBU to each location, but they're not equipped for this kind of threat. We'll split up, Naruto decided. I'll take the Northern Forest and Eastern Ridge. Wanda, you handle the Southern Gate. Then we'll converge on the village breaches. Wanda nodded, her casual clothes shifting and changing as her magic swirled around her. The red leather coat and combat outfit that had become her signature look in Konoha materialized. Be careful, she told Naruto. These aren't just random breaches. They're testing our defenses, looking for weak points. When am I not careful? Naruto asked with a cheeky grin. Both Shikamaru and Wanda simultaneously raised eyebrows at him. Okay, fair point, Naruto conceded. But I've got this. He placed his hand on Wanda's shoulder briefly, a gesture that had become natural between them over the past weeks. Then he was gone in a flash of golden light, the flying Raijin technique taking him instantly to the marker he'd placed in the northern forest. The breach was obvious even before he fully materialized. A jagged crack in the air, 6 feet tall, leaking a reddish mist that smelled of sulfur and ozone. The trees around it were warping, their trunks twisting into impossible shapes. Not good, Naruto muttered. He approached cautiously, entering sage mode to better sense the energies at work. Through his enhanced perception, he could see the breach wasn't just a tear, it was a window, showing glimpses of a fiery landscape on the other side. Mephisto's realm, he recognized from Wong's descriptions. A hand, gray-skinned with elongated fingers ending in obsidian claws, reached through the breach, grasping at the air. Naruto didn't hesitate. He formed the hand seals Wong had taught him, channeling sage chakra through the patterns. Seal of the Vishanti, he called. Golden light erupted from his palms, forming a complex mandala that overlaid the breach. The demonic hand recoiled with a hiss, and the tear began to close, stitching itself back together under the pressure of Naruto's spell. But as the breach sealed, Naruto noticed something disturbing. The air around where the tear had been remained distorted, like a scar in reality itself. They're weakening the barriers, he realized. Each breach makes the next one easier. He touched his communicator, a blend of shinobi tech and mystical enchantment that allowed him to speak with Wanda across distances. Wanda, these breaches aren't just attacks. They're strategic. They're softening up our reality. Her voice came back, tense with exertion. I know. The southern gate breach is already closing, but it's leaving a residue. Like reality is thinner here now. I'm heading to the eastern ridge, Naruto said. Meet me in the village after. He flashed away again, his body dissolving into golden light. The eastern ridge breach was worse. Not one tear, but a cluster of smaller ones, like a honeycomb of fractured space. Through each opening, Naruto could see different landscapes, not just Mephisto's hell dimension, but others. A crystalline void. A forest of petrified trees. A city of impossible architecture. They're targeting multiple points in the multiverse, Naruto realized. Not just opening doors, they're shattering walls. He formed a dozen shadow clones instantly, each taking position around the breach cluster. They moved in perfect synchronization, their hands weaving identical patterns. Crimson bands of Sidorak, they chanted together. Red bands of energy shot from their hands, wrapping around the fractures, pulling them closed. But as one breach sealed, another would widen. It was like trying to plug holes in a dam that was already crumbling. This isn't working, Naruto muttered. He dispelled his clones and reached for the Eye of Agamotto. The ancient artifact opened at his touch, green light spilling out. Naruto had been cautious about using the time stone since the battle at Kamartage. Wong had warned him repeatedly about the dangers of manipulating time too freely, but this situation demanded it. Naruto made a circular motion with his hand, the green energy following his fingers. The breaches began to rewind, closing not through force but by reversing their formation entirely. That's better, he said with satisfaction. But as the last breach sealed, a voice spoke from directly behind him. Impressive. But ultimately futile. Naruto spun around to find Madara standing there, or rather, a projection of him. The Uchiha's form was translucent, glitching occasionally like a bad transmission. Nice trick, Naruto said, keeping his distance. Astral projection? Something like that, Madara replied. Mephisto has taught me many new techniques. The mystical arts complement the Sharingan quite effectively. What do you want, Madara? Naruto demanded. Your infinite Tsukimi failed. You lost. Why come back for round 2? Madara's projection paced, his ghostly feet not quite touching the ground. I wanted perfect peace for our world, he said. I thought the dream realm was the answer. But Mephisto showed me something greater, control over reality itself. Why trap minds in illusion when you can reshape the universe to your will? Because it's wrong, Naruto said flatly. Because people deserve to choose their own paths. Choice is the great lie, Madara countered. Look at your witch friend. Her power grants her infinite choices, and it's tearing her apart. The multiverse is chaos, Naruto. It needs order. And you think you're the one to provide it? Naruto scoffed. Not me alone. Madara's image flickered. Mephisto has introduced me to someone, magnificent. A being who understands true order. A chill ran down Naruto's spine. Dormammu. Madara smiled, a cold, knowing expression. The devourer of dimensions. The lord of the dark dimension. He makes Kaguya look like a petulant child. If you bring him here, there won't be anything left, Naruto warned. Not even you. That's where you're wrong. Madara's projection began to fade. These breaches aren't just tests, Naruto. They're anchors. When the time comes, reality itself will unravel around them. We'll stop you, Naruto said, his hands clenching into fists. You can try. Madara's voice lingered as his image disappeared entirely. But the convergence has already begun. Naruto stood alone on the ridge, a sense of dread settling in his stomach. He touched his communicator again. Wanda, we've got bigger problems than we thought. The village center was chaos when Naruto arrived. 3 breaches had opened in a triangular formation around the Hokage Tower. Unlike the forest tiers, these weren't closing, they were growing, pulsing with sickly light. Civilians were being evacuated by ANBU and Chunin teams. Sakura was coordinating medical ninja near the hospital, preparing for casualties. Shikamaru stood with a team of strategists, mapping the breach points. Wanda was already there, her hands wreathed in scarlet energy as she tried to contain one of the tiers. Sweat beaded on her forehead from the effort. They're anchored to something, she called as Naruto approached. I can't close them. Naruto entered 6 paths sage mode, his body glowing with golden light. Through his enhanced perception, he could see what Wanda meant. Threads of dark energy ran from each breach, connecting to something beneath the village. There's something underground, he realized. Shikamaru. We need to evacuate everyone, now. Already on it, Shikamaru replied, his shadow stretching out to help guide civilians away. But what are we dealing with? Madara and Mephisto are working with Dormammu, Naruto explained quickly. They're creating anchor points for a multiversal convergence. Shikamaru's expression darkened. In basic terms, they're trying to merge dimensions, Wanda cut in, still fighting to contain the breach. If they succeed, reality as we know it ends. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered. Really, really troublesome. A massive tremor shook the village, buildings swaying. From the largest breach, a voice boomed, deep, resonant, and utterly inhuman. Naruto Uzumaki. Bearer of the Time Stone. I have come to bargain. The breach widened, and within its depths, Naruto could see a face, a colossal visage composed of shifting energy, with eyes like burning galaxies. Dormammu, Wanda whispered, her face pale. Give me the stone, and your world may survive as part of my domain. Naruto stepped forward, the eye of Agamotto glowing at his chest. Not happening, he called back. Go back to your dimension, Dormammu. You're not welcome here. Laughter shook the very air. Your defiance is meaningless. The convergence approaches. The ground split beneath their feet, a chasm opening down the main street of Konoha. From the depths rose a structure Naruto recognized from the archives beneath the Hokage Tower, a stone monolith covered in ancient seals. The Uzumaki dimensional anchor, Naruto breathed. That's what they're using. What is that thing? Wanda asked, moving to his side. A relic from before the village founding, Naruto explained. My mother's clan used it to stabilize reality after the Ten Tails rampages. But they've corrupted it somehow. The monolith was glowing with sickly purple light, the original seals overlaid with new ones that pulsed in rhythm with the breaches. Behold the genius of your ancestor, twisted to my purpose, Dormammu's voice boomed. Madara's knowledge of your world combined with Mephisto's mastery of contracts. The perfect fusion. Naruto's mind raced. If the monolith was the anchor point, destroying it might stop the convergence, but it could also accelerate it if done incorrectly. Wanda, he said quietly. I need you to hold back Dormammu while I deal with the monolith. She nodded, determination hardening her features. I can give you time, but not much. He's immense. Time is all I need. Naruto squeezed her shoulder briefly. Be careful. You too, she replied, her eyes meeting his for a moment longer than necessary. Then she was airborne, scarlet energy propelling her toward the breach. Her hands moved in intricate patterns, weaving a spell Wong had taught her specifically for containing extradimensional entities. Crimson Cage of Containment, she shouted. The red energy expanded outward, forming a lattice that covered the breach like a net. Dormammu roared in rage, pushing against the barrier, but Wanda held firm, her power matching his determination if not his raw strength. Naruto moved toward the monolith, but a figure appeared before him, Madara in the flesh this time, his corrupted Susanoo forming around him. I can't let you interfere, Uzumaki, Madara said, his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan spinning. The new order approaches. Still obsessed with control, Naruto replied, golden chakra flaring. You never learn. He formed a Rasengan, but infused it with eldritch energy, the sphere taking on a complex, mandala-like pattern within its swirling depths. Mystical art, dimensional Rasengan. He hurled the technique, not at Madara directly, but at the space around him. The Rasengan exploded. Not with force but with dimensional distortion, temporarily shifting Madara into a pocket dimension. That won't hold him long, Naruto muttered, racing toward the monolith. As he approached, he saw the corrupted seals more clearly, a blend of Uzumaki Fuinjutsu and demonic symbols that made his skin crawl. Directly manipulating the monolith could trigger the very convergence they were trying to prevent. Naruto touched the eye of Agamotto, opening it fully. Green temporal energy wrapped around his arms as he approached the monolith cautiously. Let's see what you were like before they got their hands on you, he murmured. He made a reverse circular motion with his hands, attempting to rewind the monolith to its uncorrupted state. The symbols began to shift, ancient markings replacing the demonic ones. But something was wrong. The temporal energy wasn't flowing smoothly, it stuttered and jumped, like a record with scratches. Time itself is unstable here, Naruto realized. The convergence was affecting the fundamental laws of reality. A slow clap echoed behind him. Very clever, trying to use time against us. Mephisto stepped out of a ripple in the air, his red suit immaculate, his smile predatory. But you see, Hokage, time is merely another dimension to be manipulated. The demon gestured, and the temporal energy around the monolith froze, then shattered like glass. And I've had eons of practice. Naruto dropped into a fighting stance. Then we'll do this the old-fashioned way. Will you? Mephisto smiled. While your witch struggles to contain a being beyond her comprehension. While your village tears itself apart at the seams. Look around you, Naruto. Your world is already ending. Naruto didn't take his eyes off Mephisto, but he could feel the truth in the demon's words. The fabric of reality was unraveling around them. Through the growing breaches, landscapes from other dimensions were bleeding through, the dark dimension's twisted architecture, Mephisto's hellish realm, and others Naruto didn't recognize. Above them, Wanda was still battling Dormammu, her power a crimson star against the cosmic darkness of the devourer of worlds. She was holding her own, but barely. You're running out of options, Mephisto continued, circling Naruto casually. But I'm a businessman at heart. I still have a proposal for you. Not interested in your deals, Naruto spat. Hear me out. Mephisto raised a placating hand. The convergence cannot be stopped now, too many anchors have been placed across too many dimensions. But it can be guided. With the Time Stone's power, you could shape the new reality that emerges. Naruto's eyes narrowed. And what would you get out of it? A seat at the table, Mephisto shrugged. A voice in the new order. Perhaps, guardianship over certain realms that interest me. So you can torture souls for eternity? Hard pass. Mephisto's face hardened. Then watch everything you love dissolve into chaos. The demon's hand shot forward, dark energy lancing toward Naruto's chest, toward the eye of Agamotto. Naruto dodged, but the attack had been a feint. The real target was the monolith, which cracked under the impact of Mephisto's power. No. Naruto lunged forward, but it was too late. The monolith shattered, each fragment glowing with malevolent light. The breaches around the village widened exponentially, reality tearing apart like wet paper. From the largest breach, Dormammu began to emerge, not just his face now, but a colossal form of pure energy, dragging his dimension with him into Naruto's world. The convergence is complete, the entity boomed. All worlds shall become one. My world. Wanda was thrown back by the surge of power, tumbling through the air before Naruto caught her with a shadow clone. We've failed, she gasped, blood trickling from her nose from the strain of her magic. He's too strong. We haven't failed yet, Naruto said, his mind racing. If they couldn't stop the convergence, maybe they could redirect it. He looked at Wanda, an idea forming. Your chaos magic, it can rewrite reality, right? She nodded weakly. Small pieces of it. Nothing on this scale. What about with the Time Stone amplifying it? And my chakra stabilizing it? Understanding dawned in her eyes. A targeted convergence. We choose what merges and what doesn't. Exactly. Naruto helped her stand. We can't stop worlds from colliding, but we can decide which parts survive. It's insanely dangerous, Wanda warned. If we lose control for even a second. Then we won't lose control, Naruto said with simple conviction. He looked into her eyes. I trust you, Wanda. Do you trust me? She held his gaze, then nodded. With everything. Around them, Konoha was transforming. Buildings stretched and warped, streets rearranged themselves, and the sky had become a kaleidoscope of different heavens from across the multiverse. Citizens ran in panic as reality itself became unreliable. Madara had returned from the pocket dimension, joining Mephisto near the largest breach. The Uchiha's form was changing, becoming more ethereal as he embraced Dormammu's power. It's now or never, Naruto said. He and Wanda stood back to back in the center of the chaos. Naruto opened the eye of Agamotto fully, green temporal energy surrounding them both in a protective sphere. I need you to channel your chaos magic through me, Naruto instructed. I'll use the Time Stone to stabilize it, then my chakra to direct it. Wanda placed her hands on Naruto's shoulders, her scarlet energy flowing into him. The sensation was like being filled with liquid fire, beautiful but terrifying. Naruto channeled Six Paths Sage Mode, golden chakra mixing with the green of the Time Stone and the red of Wanda's magic. The three energies spiraled around each other, creating a new power that hummed with potential. What are they doing? Madara demanded, sensing the shift in energies. Something desperate, Mephisto replied, his confident smile faltering for the first time. Naruto raised his hands, the combined energy swirling around them. He thought of Konoha, of the peace they'd fought so hard to achieve. He thought of Kamartage and the knowledge it contained. He thought of the people in both worlds who deserved the right to choose their own paths. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto called, forming a single clone beside him. The clone immediately began forming a Rasengan, but this was unlike any he had created before. It contained the essence of 3 different forms of power: mystical arts, chaos magic, and chakra, all stabilized by the Time Stone's temporal energy. Mystical art, reality restoration Rasengan. The clone hurled the technique not at their enemies, but straight up into the sky, where the dimensional breaches were largest. The Rasengan expanded exponentially, becoming a dome of golden green-red energy that spread outward, encompassing the entire village. Where the energy touched, reality stabilized, not returning to its previous state, but finding a new equilibrium. The buildings of Konoha remained, but now with mystical protections woven into their foundations. The sky settled into a deeper blue than before, with faint, shimmering auroras that hinted at nearby dimensions. No! Dormammu roared, feeling his influence being pushed back. This convergence is mine to control. Not anymore, Naruto said, his voice echoing with power. This is our world now. Wanda's hands moved in complex patterns, her chaos magic reaching out to touch the specific pieces of reality she wanted to preserve. Sanctums like those in Kamartage appeared at strategic points throughout the village, their ancient architecture blending seamlessly with Konoha's existing structures. Madara watched in horror as his plans unraveled. This isn't possible. You never understood, Madara, Naruto called to him. Real peace doesn't come from controlling reality, it comes from accepting it, all of it, even the parts that scare us. The Uchiha's form was becoming less stable as Dormammu's power retreated. You can't push him back forever. We don't need forever, Wanda replied, her eyes glowing crimson. Just long enough. With a final surge of their combined power, Naruto and Wanda closed the largest breach. Dormammu's roar of rage echoed as he was forced back into the dark dimension, the connection severed by the Time Stone's temporal lock. Mephisto, sensing defeat, turned to flee, but Naruto was faster. A golden chain, part mystical binding, part chakra construct, wrapped around the demon. Not so fast, Naruto said. You started this. You get to see how it ends. The reality stabilization continued, the dome of energy spreading beyond Konoha, throughout the land of fire and beyond. But it wasn't erasing the changes, it was harmonizing them. Where dimensions had bled together, they now coexisted in a new, stable framework. Madara fell to his knees, his borrowed power fading. His skin cracked like porcelain, blue light seeping through. It was supposed to be perfect, he whispered. A world without suffering, without chaos. There's no such thing, Naruto replied, approaching the fallen Uchiha. Life is messy. That's what makes it worth protecting. With a final, shuddering breath, Madara's form collapsed, the spirit that had been pulled back from the afterlife finally releasing its hold on the physical world. The blue light that had animated him drifted upward, dissipating into the new sky. Mephisto struggled against his bonds. This victory is temporary, Hokage. The barriers between worlds have been permanently weakened. Others will come. Let them come, Naruto said. He looked at Wanda, who moved to stand beside him. We'll be waiting. With a gesture of his hand, Naruto opened a portal beneath Mephisto, not to the demon's hell dimension, but to a pocket reality Wong had helped him create. A prison between worlds. This isn't over. Mephisto snarled as he fell through the portal. It never is, Naruto replied, closing the gateway. The dome of energy finally completed its expansion, settling into the fabric of the new reality. The chaos of the convergence subsided, leaving behind a world that was both familiar and profoundly changed. Naruto and Wanda stood in the center of the village, their combined power gradually fading as the Time Stone closed. Both were exhausted, their bodies having channeled energies beyond normal human tolerance. Did we just merge our worlds? Wanda asked, looking around in wonder. Not completely, Naruto replied. We created a bridge. The best parts of both, connected but distinct. Shikamaru approached cautiously, his analytical mind already cataloging the changes to the village. So this is permanent? More or less, Naruto admitted. Though I think we've got some explaining to do to the villagers. Around them, Konoha's citizens were emerging from shelter, staring in awe at their transformed home. The Hokage monument remained, but now a mystical barrier shimmered around it, protecting it from future threats. The Ninja Academy stood beside what looked like a smaller version of Kamartage, where young shinobi could learn to defend against mystical as well as physical enemies. This is going to require a lot of paperwork, Shikamaru sighed, but there was a hint of amusement in his voice. That's your department, Naruto grinned weakly, his legs suddenly unsteady. Wanda caught him before he could fall, her arm around his waist. Easy. Even you have limits. I'm fine, he insisted, though he didn't pull away from her support. Just need a bowl of ramen and I'll be good as new. Sakura joined them, her medical kit in hand. You're both getting checked out before you eat anything. The amount of energy you just channeled should have killed you. It nearly did, Wanda admitted. If Naruto hadn't stabilized my chaos magic with his chakra. Good thing I'm stubborn, Naruto said. The stubbornest, Sakura agreed with a fond roll of her eyes. Now come on, both of you. Hospital. Now. Days later, when the initial shock had subsided and the village was adapting to its new reality, Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument, looking out over Konoha. The changes were subtle from this distance, a few new buildings with unusual architecture, the shimmering barriers at the village boundaries, the slightly altered quality of light. But up close, the differences were more profound. Shinobi trained alongside apprentice sorcerers. The hospital had a new wing dedicated to mystical injuries. The barrier team now included specialists in dimensional security. And through it all, a sense of expansion, not just of the village, but of possibility. Footsteps approached from behind, and Naruto didn't need to turn to know who it was. Settling in, he asked as Wanda joined him at the edge. She nodded, her gaze taking in the village spread below them. Your people are remarkably adaptable. A week ago, they'd never heard of the multiverse. Now they're discussing interdimensional trade agreements. Naruto laughed. Ninja are practical. If something works, they use it. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the sunset paint the transformed village in gold and crimson, their colors, together. Wong sent a message, Wanda said eventually. The effects of our reality stabilization have spread. Kamartage now exists partially in this dimension too. The boundaries are more permeable. Is that good or bad? Both, probably. She shrugged. Easier travel between worlds, but also easier for threats to cross over. Wong's already reorganizing the masters to account for it. Naruto touched the eye of Agamotto at his chest. It felt lighter somehow, as if sharing its burden with the new reality they'd created. So, he said, turning to face her fully. What now? Back to your dimension. There's probably a lot to sort out there. Wanda met his gaze, her expression open in a way it hadn't been when they first met. Actually, I was thinking of staying. This new world we made, it needs guardians who understand both sides. Konoha's Scarlet Witch? Naruto suggested with a smile. Has a nice ring to it. I was thinking more like, consultant to the Hokage. A hint of uncertainty crossed her face. If that's okay with you. Naruto's smile widened. More than okay. But fair warning, the job comes with a lot of paperwork and the occasional world-ending crisis. I think I can handle that. Wanda took a step closer. Especially with the right partner. Partner, huh? Naruto reached out, hesitantly taking her hand. I like the sound of that. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the village in twilight. In the streets below, lights began to appear, some electric, some mystical, illuminating a world transformed but unbroken. You know, Wanda said softly, when I first crossed dimensions looking for help, I never expected to find this. A village full of ninja with trust issues. She laughed, the sound lighter than it had been before. A home. People who see my power as strength, not something to fear. That's what Konoha's always been about, Naruto said. Finding the people who don't fit anywhere else and giving them somewhere to belong. Is that why you became Hokage? To create that kind of place? Naruto nodded. That, and I look really good in this hat. Wanda rolled her eyes, but her smile remained. She looked out over the village, their village now, with a sense of wonder that matched Naruto's own. So, she said, Sorcerer Supreme and Master of the Mystic Arts, what's our next adventure? Naruto squeezed her hand gently, feeling the connection between them, stronger than chakra, more stable than magic, as real as the world they'd saved together. I don't know, he admitted. But whatever comes next, we'll face it together. As if in response, the eye of Agamotto pulsed once, a soft green glow that illuminated their faces in the gathering darkness. The Time Stone, sensing perhaps that its guardian had found what he needed most, not just power or knowledge, but connection. In the distance, a new breach appeared, small, controlled, a messenger from Wong rather than an invasion. The multiverse wasn't done with them yet. But Naruto Uzumaki, 7th Hokage, Sorcerer Supreme, and Master of the Mystic Arts, wasn't worried. With Wanda Maximoff at his side and a village of ninja and sorcerers at his back, he was ready for whatever came next. The adventure was just beginning. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.